Hi and welcome back to Yoga Berry. I'm Christine Jareggi-Berry. I'm a yoga teacher and I specialize in yoga for scoliosis. I teach one-to-one and online classes for yoga teachers and for anyone who wants to get started with yoga for scoliosis as well. So today we are going to work on balancing a little bit, which is really important with scoliosis, where the center of gravity is slightly changed. So we really want to make sure that our balance stays strong, and just for healthy day-to-day living and walking down the street, obviously it's really good to work on that balance and that internal awareness, that posture in general. So no props needed for this practice, just bare feet, so always much better to work without your socks on. And let's get started with our practice. Good, so we're going to start in mountain pose, and sometimes I do like to practice this on my yoga mat just because it's got a few lines on there, and then it helps me kind of aligning the feet. So for most of us, with scoliosis or not, one foot tends to turn out a little bit more than the other. So make sure that your feet are even, and again you can use your lines here. Let's keep the feet about hip distance apart, and hip distance, I don't mean the outer parts of the hips, I mean the hip bones here at the front. So you want the knees directly underneath those hip bones and the ankles underneath there. So this is your alignment for mountain pose. So let's just start to activate the feet a little bit more. So imagine spreading the toes like I'm spreading my fingers now. So we're wanting to get a little bit more awareness of the ground underneath, and we will need our toes once we take this into balancing here. Good, so I want you to just, if you know your curvature, just see if you can make that slight adjustment. And if you have been following my videos, you might know how to do this. So for example, if you have a lumbar curve, there might be one side where you've got a little bit more of a dip. So you can see this if I'm just relaxing into my normal stance, then it would look something like this. So I always need to make sure that I lengthen the right side of my waist a little bit more. So I've got a left lumbar scoliosis, but there might be other things. If you have a right thoracic curve, for example, if your right shoulder tends to roll forwards, just bring it back. So just even yourself out a little bit more. So just with as much awareness as you can. And then from there, let's just notice the contact with the floor. See if you can lift the inner arches of the feet a little bit more. And again, it's really important to spread the toes, lifting the chest a little bit more. And then from there, let's bring the focus over to the left foot. So we're going to shift the weight over to the left side, and I'm not letting my hip pop out. I'm just literally bringing the whole awareness over to the left side until the right foot is just hovering off the ground, and you can just kind of test the waters here. So I'm not a fan of teaching this pose against the wall, because I fear that a lot of the confidence really comes from within. So you don't need any other props to be able to balance. So my toes are still on the ground. There's nothing dangerous happening here. So from here, let's bring the sole of the foot to the inner ankle. Again, the toes are on the ground. So you are just having a lot of weight on that left foot at the moment, but the right foot is still on the ground. Let's bring the hands together at the center of the chest. That really helps with centering yourself as well. And then from there, you can decide if this is enough. If you want to stay there, then stay there. If you want to take the foot a little bit higher, then feel free to bring it higher, or use the hand to bring the foot to the inner thigh. Now, important here, again, if you know which curvature you've got, I'm balancing on my left foot, my right foot has come up. So this means that I'm effectively making the left lumbar curve worse if I don't do anything about it. So I need to drop the right hip a little bit more to lengthen the right side of the waist. And we go through this a lot more in my 4 weeks course, which you're very, very welcome to join, and I'm linking in the description below as well to that. But just being aware of where your convex, where your concave side is of the body is really, really helpful for these asymmetric poses. So obviously you can make the tree a little bit more challenging by take the arms up over the head. I won't be doing that today because I'm really focusing on keeping my hips level. Good, and you might notice that there's a little bit of wobbling and shaking here. And that's good. That's the foot kind of trying to find its center, finding its balance. And that's really, really strengthening for the ankle as well. Good, so enough of that. Let's release. And just for a moment, notice the difference between the right and the left. So I can feel the whole of the left side has gotten a little bit more prana, a little bit more energy. So let's do the other side when you're ready. So again, we're starting slowly, just shifting the weight over to your right foot. Again, make sure the hips are not collapsing, but you're lifting up and lengthening. And again, because I'm aware of my lumbar curve, I'm really consciously lengthening the right side of my waist as well. Now bringing the left foot, you can start obviously with the sole of the foot to the inner ankle. Stay there, but just by lifting that leg up a little bit, I am already kind of shortening that left side of the waist a little bit more. And that's good for my personal curve, so for my left lumbar curve, that is very useful. Obviously you might have a different pattern. Let's bring the hands together at the center of the chest. So it doesn't matter where you work, where you are. So if it's down here, that's absolutely fine. As long as there's a little bit of a challenge, there's a little bit of that wobbling going on. And I'm consciously not lifting the arms because it brings another dimension to this pose. And I don't want to overcomplicate it, especially if you have a thoracic curve. Just make sure that it's even. So if you have one shoulder that is rolling forward, just make that effort to keep that shoulder back. Let's take another few breaths here. And just focusing on one fixed point, so for me it's the camera at the moment, is very, very useful for balancing. Good. Let's take one more breath here. And then let's release. Coming back to center, coming back to mountain pose. Really important to, after those asymmetric poses, come back to symmetry. Come back to your mountain pose. Feel that contact with the floor. And there's a little bit of that pressing the feet down into the ground, which creates this rebound, this effect that lifts you away from the floor slightly. Good, let's do another balancing pose. So we're coming back to that left foot, shifting your weight forward, over to the left side. This time I'm going to bring my right knee up in front. So bring your right knee up. Now on this side again, I know I need to drop the right waist a little bit more. If you just have a thoracic curve, don't worry, you don't have to worry about any of this. You just need to worry about your shoulders. Good, so from there, let's make it a little bit more challenging. We're going to bring the left arm out to the side and then slowly start to open the knee out towards the right. Now, at some point, my left hip will turn. I don't want that, so I want to keep the pelvis really nice and stable. So it doesn't matter how far you take the leg out to the side. It's just kind of bringing a little bit more challenge to the pose. Coming back to center. And then releasing the leg. Coming back to mountain pose for a moment. Noticing the effects of the pose. Just these very, very simple movements can make a big, big difference. Good, so let's do the other side. So I just looked down, I noticed that my right foot has turned out. So I'm bringing it back in, bringing it back to center. So it's just noticing, being aware of these small details. So let's do the other side, shifting the weight over to your right. Bringing the left leg up in front. And again, this is useful for my curvature because I'm shortening the left side of the waist. I'm lengthening the right side. So everything is good on this side. Bringing the right arm out to the side and then use the left hand to open the leg. So again, noticing where that point is, where you just pulling the whole of the pelvis over. That's not what we're looking to do. We're just wanting to open a little bit. Lifting up through the crown of the head. Good. And then slowly release. And then releasing the leg. Good. So I really hope that you enjoyed this little practice. Obviously, again, make sure to come back into mountain pose just for a moment, for a breath or two. And then if you are doing any other poses, make sure to finish with Shavasana, with your final relaxation. That's the one pose I would never skip in a practice. And feel free to leave me any comments. Let me know if you've got any questions. Do join us on the online course. The next one is starting on the 2nd of June. And I'll see you very soon for the next video.